Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Sorry about the background for today, but I'm not at home right now, so what I have is what I have. The news I received today, we all received today, is quite concerning. So President Zelensky gave the interview to the Washington Post, basically confirming the rumors which appeared in internet recently. I mean, two main topics: that Russia is getting ready for the major assault on Ukraine during the summer campaign, and the second news that the United States of America really asked Ukraine to stop targeting the Russian oil refinery facilities. I put those news at the top of today's topic because I think that those are very crucial for the future, not only of Ukraine, but of the democratic world. So, President Zelensky said that the United States of America are not okay or not satisfied with the Ukrainian attacks on the Russian oil refinery facilities and other objects of the Russian infrastructure, energetic infrastructure, he says. So not just the oil refinery facilities, but probably oil storages, pipelines, whatever they have. At the same time, and as for me it is very important, President Zelensky said that Washington is unable to limit Ukraine in using its own weaponry. So now Ukraine uses its own weaponry to target the Russian facilities. Washington says that they are not okay with it, but they cannot influence Ukraine to stop those attacks. Zelensky basically said that Russians should study to live without any fuel, benzene or diesel doesn't matter. There should be a shortage in electrical power as well, and it is justice, because Russia continued to target Ukrainian infrastructure. Just the last night they targeted lots of the Ukrainian facilities, so many Ukrainian cities stayed without any sort of the power. But somehow the United States officials didn't say anything about that case. They say to Ukraine not to target the Russian facilities, but not to Russia. Well, they say like that already before in 2022, but now no any longer, and moreover Ukraine is in lack of the air defense systems, so the supplies for Ukraine slowed down dramatically, so we are out of the tools to shut down all of the Russian missiles or the drones. Now the vast part of those hits Ukrainian infrastructure, unfortunately. About the long-range ATACMS version for Ukrainian army, United States said that now they're not going to supply those missiles to Ukraine, even if the new military package would be agreed by the House of the Representatives. But President Zelensky said that those missiles are needed to target the Russian military airfields in Crimea and also on the southern part of Ukraine, which is now occupied by Russia. By the way, Ukraine already did it with the previous version of ATACMS missiles, targeting Berdyansk airfield, for example. Then Russia lost many of the helicopters. One more quote from President Zelensky. He said that if there is no military support from the United States, it means that we'll be in lack of the Patriot missiles and also 155mm artillery shells. It means that Ukraine would be forced to give up its territory to Russia, yes, little by little, but we see the current events, what is happening right now on front lines. We're gonna get to review the situation today, and every day it's not good for Ukraine. At least for now. The Ukrainian president recalled the situation which happened in 2014, then Russia occupied Crimea and started the war on the eastern side of Ukraine in Donbass, and the Western community, the free democratic state, didn't react properly. Moreover, they boosted trade with Russia, especially Europeans, thanks to Merkel and other politicians. Zelensky said that it opened the way for the big war in Ukraine to happen. 100% I do agree with it. Russia was under the sanctions, but those sanctions were not working as the major part of the sanctions introduced against Russia today. Russia still has many of the customers, including in the European Union, for their oil, gas and basically everything. And the attitude, as you see, from politicians didn't change dramatically. They still call Ukraine to stop the fire on the Russian facilities. Meanwhile, Russia is free to target everything in Ukraine. Where is justice out here? It's nonsense. So indeed we have the confirmation about the article that was published 4 days ago from the Financial Times, and definitely Zelensky confirmed everything. As I said to you in my previous video, business is business, nothing personal, right? It seems like politicians do not care about the Ukrainian life losses or something like that. They have their own interests and they follow those. They're gonna use Ukrainians to achieve their political goals. Normal people, people like you and me, we care about what is happening, and that is why we still have a great support of Ukraine, which is mostly coming now from volunteer wing. Right now, let's go briefly to the front lines update. The situation right now near to Robotyne, it is the southern part of Ukraine, looks like that. Russia has two of the major attacks, one towards Robotyne and one from Verbovo village. Here they advanced a little. We don't have that update yet on a deep state military map, but I have the information about it. So Ukrainian forces were forced to withdraw from this area. Also, Russians moved a little near to Robotyne, unfortunately taking some turn ground. Russia is using their best of the best forces out there. They called paratroopers divisions from Pskov, which were sent there around half a year ago, and only now they're able to gain some of the ground. Yes, still it is not a very significant achievement for the Russian army, but nevertheless they gained the ground in some of the spots constantly, almost each day. This situation will continue for several more months because Ukraine stays without a major support from our main ally, and in general the support of Ukraine dropped this year dramatically. Luckily, with the help of the Czech Republic with their president and many participants from the other countries, Ukraine finally was able to get artillery shells and tank shells for the army. So I hope that Ukraine will be able to slow down the Russian advancement with the help of those artillery shells in the coming weeks. So one more about Robotyne. Definitely Russian forces moved to this village and they're controlling the part of it. Before they were ambushed there many times, but now they took initiative and were able to gain the ground, creating some sort of the secured bridgehead. I'm not telling that Robotyne will be given to enemy in a close perspective, but I think that Russia has the resources to occupy this part. Unfortunately, guys, it is like that. The war is about resources. Who has more resources wins. A basic mathematics, so Ukraine needs more and more support, but instead we have less and less support. Guys, I'm telling about it in my every video because this situation is just crazy as for me. It seems like the deep state of the democratic states already agreed that Russia would prevail in Ukraine, but they didn't ask Ukraine itself. People of Ukraine will continue to fight no matter what, I'm sure about it. Russia also moved near to Nevelska. It's the small advancement, but still it happened. But nevertheless, Russia is also in lack of the major resource for their big strike as it happened in February or March of 2022. But probably they're organizing something for the summer campaign. I mean the attack on the Kharkiv city. I think that this Russian crazy attack will happen. We already obtained the information from many different sources, even from Ukrainian officials, and we see that Ukraine is building the defense lines close to Kharkiv. Ukraine even announced the evacuation of the nearby villages. Yeah, mostly because of the Russian fire towards the place using their artillery or rockets or Shahids, but still the northern part of the Kharkiv region will be evacuated. I heard the news about this case around 3 days ago. So has Russia a potential to occupy the Kharkiv city? Honestly, I don't think so. I think that they're in lack of that major resource to do it, but they might try. They may reach the city, I mean, as they did in 2022. Russian side says that they modernized their army, that their army is not as it was in 2022, but I think that it is totally opposite. Yes, now they have a good China-made equipment for their soldiers. They produce tanks and they store them just in case, maybe for those kind of the operations. But if we speak about the soldiers, the quality of the average soldier in Russia dropped dramatically. They are in lack of training and their commanders are in lack of the competence still. Also, there is a constant problem in the Russian army with communication and supplies. So they can try to reach Kharkiv via this road or the secondary roads over here. For this way, it's kind of hard for them to reach. This area has many of the rivers, but nevertheless, Kharkiv is very close to the border. Let's measure the distance from the central part of Kharkiv to the Russian border. It's 38.5 kilometers. not really far. For this attack, Russia obviously needs to announce a new massive mobilization in Russia. Without it even reaching the border of the city is no-go, it's just unreal. But this variant, as I say to you, is possible because we have many of the Ukrainian officials openly saying about this possible case. The General Syrskyi said that it would be a suicide mission for the Russian army. I also think like that. But the Russian KGB regime has its own goals and they'll try to achieve it. In any case, about Kharkiv, as President Zelensky said, we're gonna see it in June or late May this year. The last night, Russia tried to target some of the Ukrainian dams in the Dnieper River, so they tried to repeat what happened to Kakhovsky Dam. Luckily, Ukraine concentrated enough air defense resources to defend Dnistrovsky and Kanevsky Dam. About Dnistrovsky Dam, if Russia targets it, it would bring devastations not just to Ukraine but also to Moldova. But Russians do not care. Those are the Russian cruise missiles and Shahed drones which Ukraine was able to shut down yesterday night. But still many of those missiles and drones went to hit their targets, mostly power plants. The Ukrainian General Commander Syrskyi also gave today the interview to some of the media sources. He confirmed that in Avdiivka 25 of Ukrainian soldiers were imprisoned by Russians during the withdrawal procedure or evacuation from Avdiivka town. Here I totally disagree with his statement. He says that the situation on the front lines is difficult, but we return back more positions than we lose. Actually, I do not remember that Ukraine returns some of the positions for the last 2 months. Maybe occasionally just small success, but Russia has superiority on the front lines, unfortunately. I may judge about it because I review military maps from the different sources non-stop each day. For now, he says that the goal of the Ukrainian army is to exhaust the enemy side and later on go for the counteroffensive. Well, I think that the counteroffensive in the current situation is simply not possible. Well, maybe in a couple of years, who knows, but not in 2024 for sure. Well, guys, I'm quite surprised. A president of Czech Republic, Petr Pavel, flown glider today. It's a beginning of the soaring season in Czech and basically in Europe. And I also fly glider. I enjoy it a lot. And let's see how he stands the G-force. And here we go with a loop. Goes up. Oh, it's nothing for him. He stays like nothing happens. Like a roller coaster for many, but for Petr Pavel, just a casual thing, you know. Aerobautics, who cares? He greeted Czechs with Happy Easter. So my friends, Happy Easter for you as well. Yeah, this guy is just awesome. Petr Pavel really saves Ukraine this year with a deal for artillery shells for the Ukrainian army. Ukraine started to use a Second World War technology with those floating balloons. In the Second World War, those were used to stop the enemy fighter jets and bombers. But now Ukraine will use those to improve the signal for the FPV drones and other types of the drones. Potentially, it may increase gradually the range of the drones. Speaking about FPV, Ukraine still has advantage over the Russian army. At least for now, but Russia produces lots of the FPVs as well. Alright, let's go back to the ship's saga. Again, we have the report, this time from the British government intelligence or something like that. I found this image in internet and the origin source for me is unknown, so I cannot guarantee that it is definitely the official source of United Kingdom. Here they say that here's the damage of this landing ship and of this ship as well. Honestly, we are still in lack of the proofs that Russian ships were definitely targeted. I say it as it is. Do you see any spot of the damage in this place? Or even over here? Yes, there is some of the black dot, but not more than that. You may find black spots over here, here for example. So definitely hard to tell. I'm not saying that those ships were not targeted, but at the same time, I'm not saying that they were targeted. No evidence, guys. No evidence. A Putin special military operation goes according to plan. This is Belgorod, and those are the shelters for people on the streets. As you can see, with every air rains, they're going to take those places. But what's the difference between the buildings and those small shelters with kind of the thin walls, I may say? Nevertheless, Russia put those elsewhere in Belgorod and they're used for some sort of a protection. Well, this is really a robust case, the underground stations or something like that. But here, with those thin walls, no, it doesn't work. And you know what? It seems like that those walls are built out of the plastic. At least the structure is very similar to it. So there is the probability that people are just hiding in the refrigerator boxes. Alright guys, probably those are the main news for today. Don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so you help me a lot, and also if you want to support my job you may check out some of the links in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your awesome support. My friends, I wish you all, as usual, a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.